Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and the painting I'm bringing you today is called Golden Path. That may change in the future. I kind of remember writing a title on the bottom, but I can't remember what it is because I'm getting old or something. I don't really know. Anyway, it's an 8 by 10, and I completed this one last week, but I had it I thought it was done. That's what we're going to talk about today. So, don't run away. We have tips ahoy, tips to impart. Okay? Trust me. I don't know. Don't trust me. But anyway, we're going to talk about some stuff. So, yeah, I thought it was done. I was looking at it. Yeah. And this is what's going on. It's like I know of everyone has a tendency to potentially overwork their paintings. And one of the best ways that you can do that is by working on top of a dry painting. And there are times that that's exactly what you want to do. But there are many times when you do that you'll lose a lot of the fresh initial impetus of the painting. And actually, just to get a little esoteric with you, if you think about it, the painting is actually a very, very interesting way to record consciousness. I bet in the future they might be able to rewind and know the exact state of mind and what the artist was experiencing while they were painting. So many decisions made, so many strokes made, and you can make a study after another artist, but I guarantee you that it's not going to be the same painting. It's impossible. You won't hit them stroke for stroke. You might even be able to get, you might spend a lifetime focusing on trying to do that. But even then, your personality, your imprint as a human being is going to be one of the primary things that's always going to be broadcast from your work. So, just as an aside. Anyway, so there's that. So you're going to be a different person in the future when you put the dry painting on the easel, and that person may not even relate totally to the person you were when you created the painting. Sometimes that's fine, especially say if you're trying to fix a painting that's bad. But let's just say there's some bad things in your painting, some things that bother you, and this is going to happen to you as you become more and more experienced, right? You'll be walking by your painting, and you might even think, wow, that's my best one. Then you'll see, oh, I got 3 clouds exactly the same size. I didn't notice that. That doesn't look good. Or you might notice, wow, that thing that's supposed to be in the background looks like it was supposed to be maybe 5 miles away. It looks like it's 100 miles away. Oh, that's not good. Or it's too dark, or this is too light, or that face I thought looked okay. It actually looks like, I thought it looked like a man. That looks like an old woman, Whatever. It could be any number of things. If you're a painter, I don't have to tell you. There's so many ways to go wrong. So many ways to go off the rails. So many things that have to go right to do a good painting. Anyway, in this particular case, I was under the sway of Georgia Ness, and as you know, you're going to see lots of Georgia Ness floating around on this channel, studies ahoy. Yeah, because we're doing a project where we're going to do like 130 studies, and if you break that down into one a week, it's 2.5 years. So I'm under the sway, and it's okay. It's okay to be under the sway, because who's better? I want more of that Georgia Ness goodness in my work. If I could steal Georgia Ness's soul and squeeze some of it into my work, that's what I'd like to do. And I'm sure you may be the same, if not with a Georgia Ness, with one of your other favorite painters whose work you look at and you go, man, that really does it. That really does what I want to do, So one thing about like later Georgia Ness is that he had a way of like flattening shapes, and yet they didn't look, it didn't bother you how flat he made them. But they were really flat. They weren't like rendered with clump, 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 say in his trees. There was just sort of an indication of some dark area, some light area. And that was like when I went marching off to do this painting, I was thinking, that's what I want to do. Da, 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 da. And I kind of did it, and I kind of thought I succeeded at it. And then, as I was looking at it, I was going, no, this is just too flat. It's not working. What I tried didn't work. So there was that, but I want to have my cake. I want to eat it too. I want to have some clump action, but I also want it to be flat. The other thing that bothered me is like how white the sky was, how light it was. And this is, of course, probably just, influence of the reference, right? But it bugged me, and so, but when I was done with the painting, I wasn't that bothered. I was just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm going to put this up on the channel. I'm going to put it in my store. I'm going to sell this thing on, and hopefully, God willing. By the way, this painting will be in the store now, and you got the whole story of it. And this one is going for, we'll say, $225 US. Okay, and go ahead and buy it. Support this channel. International shipping's included. That ain't cheap, son. Let me tell you. But it's worth it for me to get this into your hands, into your home. Also, because of the unknown virus of unspecified origin, gallery stuff's dried up, tourism's dried up. So I'm trying to do my best to get my work into my store when it's fresh, and people are seeing the videos and inspired maybe to help support me. So if you want to do that, go buy this painting or go buy another one. Anyway, also it's in the members area, but I'm not going to take a whole lot of your time with all that. You know about the members area, the live version's there. So let's talk about it. Now that I've done my pitch, right? Yeah, it was successful in a lot of degrees. I think the colors are good. I think I did a really good job of simplifying things. Maybe a little too simple. You'll see I added a few things there. But so I have a drying area in my studio, and if you don't have such an area by where you paint, I recommend you do. Maybe like the gal in the studio next door had her dad, who's very handy, built these very shallow shelves, and she can prop all her paintings along there and look at them. And you got to look at your work. It's just like if you're doing music, you got to listen to the mix, in the car. A lot to get good at mixing. And if you're a painter, you need to look at your work you're doing a lot, and you need to have a critical eye, but not in a mean way. Don't be harsh on yourself. Always support yourself. But as you're walking by, as you're noticing, you go, that's not right. I'm going to fix that. So most of the work I'm doing these days, I'm not doing that second pass. There might be a few things that I could have perfected, but the trade-off is always, do I want to try and perfect this and potentially lose the freshness? Because trust me, what will happen is you'll fix that one thing, and then while you got the brush in your hand and you're looking at the painting and you're like in painter mode, you go, well, this could be better too, and I think I could make that sky a little brighter, and I think I can put a little highlight on this and do this and do that, and next thing you know, you may have covered the entire painting with a whole new set of strokes, all your nice expressive strokes. And just to do another little sidebar there, say you're a painter starting out, a bit of an amateur, right? You still, come on, what got you into painting was your developed sense of aesthetics, right? You look at art and you feel it deeply, and you say to yourself, I want to do that. I know I can do it. I think I can do it. But then you sit down to do art, and you see you're falling short. Because why? Because painting's hard. It is hard, but rewarding, worth it. Anyway, getting to my point, even as an amateur, you are like a human being having an expression and an experience. The scene that you're painting from, whether it's outdoors or using a photo, you're reacting to that, and you're putting the paint on the canvas, and you're doing it with brush strokes. And yes, your strokes may be a little crude or primitive compared to how they might be when you've been painting for years more, but there's a certain honesty there, there's a certain freshness there that I'm just telling you, I'm giving you a big secret here, so hopefully you stay tuned past the mark where people are dropping out, because this is, this is pretty good stuff, especially if you're a painter starting out. So yeah, your work's not perfect, but if you did it in a fairly expedient manner, what it is a fresh reflection of your impression of the scene you're painting, and that's intrinsically valuable. It's intrinsically honest. And what I've seen so many amateurs do is, like, because they're frustrated that they didn't hit the mental mark that would have satisfied their personal sense of aesthetics, right? They can perceive that their work is crude and amateurish compared to whatever it was, whether it was a photo that, this is wrong, that's wrong, or whether it was a study, oh my gosh, I couldn't pull off that face, or I couldn't get the fingers right, or whatever it is. The fact of the matter is, though, had you not, what most amateurs do is they just keep going. They'll let the painting dry and they'll do it. They'll make 5-10 passes on the darn thing, and all of those expressive strokes turn into tiny little non-strokes or little rice grains if they're actually keeping any definite sort of stroke action going. More likely, everything just gets very blah, very over-rendered, very, a lot of times, gray, because they don't really know that much about color, and they keep guessing, and everything just goes south. But if you had just let your initial painting session be, and you put it in your drying area and you just leave it alone, a lot of times you say, you know what, that looks pretty good. Yes, that's wrong. Yes, that's wrong. But if I look at it objectively, it's pretty fresh. At least it's an honest representation of where you were at. Oh, by the way, we just threw a glaze on. So in the live area, you'll hear me talking to my student because I called her over. She's temporarily in the studio next door. And I showed her what glazing was all about. So we talked enough about the other thing. Let's talk about some glazing. So glazing was the solution for this one. You could see how it already had some pretty colors. We just went full on into it. It's totally warm now. And what I did was I glazed it with Indian yellow. Indian yellow is a great glazing color. Very strong, kind of an orangey, very warm yellow. So super transparent, super strong. And a lot of times what you do, now when you glaze, it only affects the lightest areas. So, and again, this is covered well in the live area, but you may not want to go there or do that. So I'm going to just talk you through it here. So what we do is take a pigment that's marked on the tube as transparent. This color is like raw umber, burnt sienna, fake burnt sienna, not the real burnt sienna. Plenty of people glaze with. You can glaze with almost anything, by the way, even if it's opaque, if you add enough oil. So whatever your usual medium is, you just introduce a little bit of pigment, and the painting needs to be dry. If you pay attention on this one, when I first rubbed the glaze on it, some chunks off of that main trunk just came away because it wasn't as dry as I thought, which was okay because I knew I was going to paint in a little bit more. And actually what I did there was added a little bit of red. I got into some alizarin crimson, and that was one of the notes I decided to bring in. And honestly, this painting needed to be worked on some more, and I'm so happy I did. I'm actually quite happy with it. And it doesn't have an so regarding that flatness component, I think I did succeed at it. I put a few more clumps in, but because I knew that was my goal, I probably restrained myself. So you can render things so they're like really bright highlight to really dark shadow, and that'll make everything jump and pop. When you're flattening things, your highlight's going to be less and your shadows may be less as well, so you don't have a huge amount of contrast. It's large amounts of contrast that increase that clumpy feeling, when you really get in there with super dark shadows or super bright highlights. So I held off on all that, and I'm real happy with the way it turned out. And actually here you're going to get the last minute of the video is real time. Look how slow that is. Now that's what it's like in a live session, and this is it's 2 hours and something. But also in the live session, what's cool is I give you a breakdown on my approach to the color mixing, and I know a lot of painters starting out struggle with that, so that's one reason I started including that in every live session. Break down the painting into the main constituent colors and tell you how I'm going to make those mixes, and I do it right there in front of you. Also, a lot of times I'll have the reference up. You don't see my reference here, sorry. But if you want to see my reference, and this is pretty interesting, you go to the live area, you can see it. I'm sharing it with you there. And not just that, but I'm also communicating about various traps that I discern, and that doesn't mean that I may not fall into some of those traps, because I'm not perfect, you know, and I'm not the world's greatest painter. I'm just another guy struggling, and as you know, the struggle is real. So that's it for this video. If you got this far, thank you so much. Hey, leave me a comment if you're the type of lovely individual that you can type up a comment, knows how to use that keyboard and stuff. That'd be great. I appreciate it. It always makes me feel good. It warms the cockles of my heart to know that I'm reaching people in a positive way. And I will be back with another video, God willing. And when I do come back, or until I do come back, please do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, all of your loved ones. Be patient with people that have opinions that diverge from your own. You never know. You don't know everything. I don't know everything. So, and while you're doing all that, take good care. Stay out of trouble. And God bless you and your family.